Hello friends! In today's update, let us start with the experience of a foreigner. This can be a learning experience for you guys. My Australian friend flew from Sydney to Singapore to Philippines successfully via Singapore Airlines and Scoot Air, but it wasn't easy. He had fully recovered from COVID last April too and got a medical certificate from his doctor. But when he got his 48 hours RT-PCR test, it came positive. He wasn't worried, he wasn't scared because immediately he called Singapore Airlines, Mactan Cebu International Airport, that was his port of entry, and the Bureau of Quarantine. And guess what? All of these offices said that the result was okay as long as this foreigner had proof of recovery. But that was not the case. Upon check-in on the day of his flight with Singapore Airlines, he was told that if your 48 hours PCR test is positive, you cannot enter the Philippines unless you're a Filipino citizen or spouse of a Filipino. And that is even if you have a medical certificate. Apparently, fully recovered foreigners with a positive test result are not allowed. So 3 hours before boarding, my friend rushed to the nearest lab to get another test. Luckily, his results came out negative and he was able to board the plane 1 hour before the boarding gate closed. Let's cut it bit by bit. Fully recovered. A lot of you guys message and ask, Jennifer, I recently got COVID. Or can I show a medical certificate instead of a negative test result? It depends. It would depend on your nationality. Now, this was on the IATF Resolution 158, posted last January 20, and it's still in effect as of today. Only international arriving Filipino passengers have the option to show a proof of recovery. Let me read it. International arriving Filipino passengers who have recently recovered from COVID but still test positive in the required pre-departure test may be allowed entry in the country subject to the presentation of the following in lieu of the required negative test result. So these three things. This is exclusive for Filipino citizens. Filipinos na nagpa-positive pa rin, pwedeng umuwi, but have to comply with these three things. Yung positive test result na RT-PCR not earlier than 10 days, not more than 30 days. Very strict din. And then medical certificate from a doctor stating na you are free to travel and you have finished your quarantine. And then magpapatest ka na naman 2 days before your flight ng RT-PCR, kahit positive, okay lang. Basta meron ka ng medical certificate and yung another test na 10 to 30 days. Medyo complicated. But again, this privilege of showing a certificate of recovery is only for Filipino citizens. Dual Filipino citizens, OFWs, Filipinos holding permanent residence abroad like green card holders. Yan, basta Filipino citizen. A foreigner, including former Filipinos, need to show a negative test result. But IATF, why restrict this privilege to just Filipino citizens? Bakit Filipinos lang? Why not extend this to foreigners, former Filipinos, Balikbayans then? Medically speaking, there's no difference between a fully recovered Filipino and a fully recovered foreign national. Diba? Can you please extend this showing proof of medical certificate or recovery to foreign nationals and balikbayans din? Because it just doesn't make sense na di sila covered. Medically speaking, pantay lang naman. Jennifer, what if it happens to me that I test positive 2 days before my flight or a day before my flight? If you tested positive with RT-PCR po, it's more reliable kasi the gold standard testing. If you tested positive through RT-PCR, more likely then positive ka na sa antigen test. It would be your best option would be to call your airline, isolate for let's say 5 days, then get tested again. If it shows negative, all good, you can travel. If it shows positive test result, I would strongly suggest antigen test because antigen test is less sensitive, therefore you have more chances of getting a negative test result. if you recently recovered. Another thing that we can learn from Agnes' friend's story is, if you can remember from her story, the foreigner inquired with BOQ, with Cebu International Airport, with Singapore Airlines, and they told him through the phone that you're good, you can fly with this. Apparently not. See, even government agencies sometimes give you wrong information. Because there is nowhere in IATF resolution that states foreigners can also show proof of recovery, diba? Kaya guys, always the best thing is to go back to the IATF po. Kasi the rules are from them, coming from them. It's the Bible of traveling to the Philippines. While if your situation is not complicated, you are fully vaccinated and you have a negative test result, you should be fine. Some people ask me about the testing. Jennifer, how about a rapid NAAT test? People who are going to be tested with Walgreens or Walmart, some of them plan to get rapid NAAT, while there are two sides of the story about this rapid NAAT. Is this enough? Can you use this to travel to the Philippines? Well, there are travelers who said, yes, I used a rapid NAAT and it was fine, I'm here, no problem. There are also people who said the rapid NAAT test result weren't accepted, I had to get tested again. So there's two sides of the stories. I would recommend RT-PCR or antigen test. Make your life simple. This is what they want, give it to them. Don't try to say, how about this? How about that? Just choose the safe option. Rapid RT-PCR or antigen test. Whether you want to go with your rapid NAAT test, that's your choice, pero that's you're on your own. As for me po, I suggest to just choose between these two to keep it simple and safe, to avoid hassle. Now let's review the requirements. Filipinos, mga Pilipino, negative test result, One Health Pass QR code, vaccination proof, then kung unvaccinated na non-OFW, kailangan ng pre-booking ng quarantine hotel for 5 nights. Accredited dapat. As of speaking po, OFW, libre pa din naman yung hotel ninyo at saka domestic travel. Stay updated lang po tayo sa mga announcement ng OWA, ni Sir Hans Kaktak. Yan naman sila mag-a-announce if there ever is a change. Next up is for Balikbayans, former Filipinos, foreign spouse, children traveling together, a negative test result, your old Filipino passport or birth certificate or marriage certificate. Some people argue, hindi naman yan hinahanap. They don't even ask about that upon arrival. So what? If this is what is written in the book na kailangan siya, and if you have it, bring it. It's not a big hassle naman. It's just one piece of paper. Kung hindi hinanap sa mga umuwi, for some, that's okay, that's good. Pero others, hinanapan naman po. So much better po if you bring it. Next is, passport should be more than 6 months valid, vaccination proof, and then One Health Pass QR code. While for foreign tourists and foreigners on 9A visa, a negative test result, either RT-PCR 48 hours or antigen test 24 hours, passport should be more than 6 months valid, vaccination proof, travel insurance with COVID coverage of at least $35,000. That requirement hasn't changed. Travel insurance is still required to foreign tourists. And then an onward or return ticket of not more than 30 days since arrival. Or for 9A visa holders within your allowable stay. Next up is One Health Pass QR code. Lastly, foreigners holding a visa except 9A. So for example, SRRV, 9G, 9F, all types of visa except 9A. A negative test result, whether that's RT-PCR or antigen test, passport should be more than 6 months valid, vaccination proof, and One Health Pass QR code. That is it. It's best to be knowledgeable, it's best to know the rules, and I'm sure if you know it, your arrival, your trip will be smooth, will be more relaxed, and you won't have to worry a thing because you know that you have what is needed. So that is really all about it. Stay safe you all. God bless.